I have some good news for you and I have some bad news for you. The good news is that India today, with more than 1 billion people, 50% of the population today is under the age of 25. We are one of the youngest nations in the world. What's the bad news? The bad news is that our netas, 50% of our netas are over the age of 75. So what I'm going to talk to you about is ideas. It is ideas that really change the whole of mankind. Since the beginning, when man invented fire, and then the wheel, and the aeroplane, and so on and so on. And so what I'm talking about here is not necessarily technology. Some of it may be. But ideas of change spring here. And it is the human brain, and it's the human attitude that also needs to change. Let me just say that I believe Youngistan, that is all the people I talked about under the age of 25, I believe they must abolish hypocritical virtues. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. What are the virtues? Anyone here think that nepotism is a virtue or is it a vice? Anyone? Anyone? Huh? Yes? It's a vice. It's a vice. We all agree nepotism, giving a job to one of your relatives out of turn, is a vice. And yet, many of us, including me, of the older generation, have quite happily, when you get a phone call from your uncle and he says, "Beta, you know, my son, your nephew, he's looking for a job in Lintas, so just accommodate him." And that is considered a virtue. To help members of your family to get out-of-turn jobs is considered a virtue. In fact, if you said no to your uncle, first thing you say, "Arey, kya khandan mein parivar to nahi samajhte? Ye kya baat hai?" Right? And yet we say nepotism, when we speak in English, is a vice. But when we switch to our own native language, it suddenly becomes a virtue. What about bribery? Anyone? Bribery? Anyone in favor of bribery, raise your hand, please. Please. Okay. Anna Hazare, you might win the battle. So no one's, okay? Anyone of you, at any time, have you ever given rishwat? And what is that? What is that? That is a form of bribery. So what I'm saying is, we don't realize we are in a double-think situation in this country. Many of the things which we subscribe to in the Constitution of India, but when it comes to our real lives and we're living them, we give it a different name, and we don't seem to think it's actually a vice. We say, "Rishwat diya, arey, bichara, oh bichara," meaning, even a government servant, bichara, who's getting bribes worth, lakhs of rupees per day, bichara. So that. Okay, anyone here raise your hand if you believe in discrimination? Discrimination, you believe in it, sir? Good, okay, nice, honest man here. Join Anna Hazare is looking for honest men like you. Discrimination. We all say that's a bad thing, It's the Americans, who used to discriminate against the blacks. And it's the South Africans who used to discriminate against black South Africans. And it's the Australians who discriminate against Indians and are beating them up on the streets of Sydney. But then we say, someone says, yeah, but what caste are you? Hello? Suddenly we've divided the country into sections. Brahmins at the top and the Dalits at the bottom. And in between we have so many. What else is that if not discrimination? And the government has been trying, because of the Constitution, to restore that by granting certain amount of seats in colleges and in government jobs to the people who've been discriminated for thousands of years. So you see, if you change your language, suddenly everything becomes quite acceptable. Anyone here believe in the suppression of women? Come on, raise your hand. Some of you husbands must be that, yes? So you don't believe in it? Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Yes, you think so. That's a joke. But let me tell you what the opposite side of it. Discrimination of women, bad. Pati puja, good. Huh? Right? Dowry, good. What else? A woman has to buy her husband in India? And I'm not talking about the villages or the small towns. I'm talking about cities like Bombay, my own city, I'm ashamed. And every single, Jaipur, sir, yes, dowry to, chal raha hai, I must, give my son a start in life and all that. So if the bride's father wants to be so happy as to give me, give him a nice Maruti, no, not Maruti, better he gives a BMW, that would be better. Yeah, so we all realize that this is the double think that we have. I was in a club in Calcutta recently, and I was giving a talk to the ladies there, and I said, how many of you believe that it is okay to have sex with a stranger? And one person raised their hand and said, sir, how can you say that? You're disgracing all of Indian womanhood. How can you say that? Sex with a stranger. Oh, only those Americans, those people, they are divorced and so on. Later in the talk, I said, how many of you ladies believe in arranged marriages? I'm telling you that the new generation needs to rethink the values that are pertaining in India. And I'm sorry that my generation failed you. It is the new generation, the under 25, or those at least who think young, think new, think ideas, need new values. And we've got to look at the values that we are actually living. What we speak and what we do, there seems to be a big gap between the two. And this is something, I tell you, is ideas that in this case certainly will change India. We want to be one nation. And what is the only time, only twice in my lifetime, have I seen Indians become one nation? Not, I'm a Bengali, I'm a Punjabi, and so on. When have I seen? Twice only in my whole life. One is when the Chinese invaded India in 1962. There were long queues at the recruiting office. Yes. It was wonderful, you know that, sir. And it was fantastic to see everyone was willing to defend our country. And then after that, of course, we went back to our old ways. And then, recently, I can't say it, but until 2010, we had another very unifying factor. Anyone know? When we all felt Indian. World Cup, cricket, unites us all. Just now, of course, they're going to get a lot of galis when they come back. But isn't it sad that, we have this wonderful thing called India, but we are so divided, we are so, shall we say, ready to criticize the other parties. So I say to you, if we want a united country, we've got to get rid of this discrimination against this, that, and the other. We've got to think, as our Constitution says, every Indian will be born equal and will get equal opportunities, and that is the Constitution. But the Constitution is a piece of paper. And how do you make a piece of paper like this stand up and walk and talk? And that's what we are. Human beings make pieces of paper action. Okay, next idea. Anyone heard of the word teleportation? Next slide, please. Yeah. Teleportation. Okay, teleportation is basically the ability of scientists to move solid objects from one place to another. Just as a fax, you send a fax from here and someone in New York receives the fax in New York. In fact, in Silicon Valley, in Palo Alto in California, about 2 years ago, they were experimenting with solid state fax. in which they were able to send a plastic glass by fax. And what they did was, they had a digital reading of the plastic glass, all the measurements, etc., the thickness, etc., and the person in London got that message, and he had a little machine which had plastic beads which were melted down, and his machine read the instructions, and the glass was created in front of his eyes, the identical glass. Imagine if human beings and goods could be transported across continents by teleportation, which is the object moving from one area to another just through science. What would happen? There'd be no transport industry. Therefore, there'd be no pollution. Therefore, we'd save billions and trillions of rupees and dollars. All transport, there'd be no cars, no aeroplanes, no ships. It would be a cleaner world, a greener world. Now, this is on the edge of discovery. They haven't yet been able to conquer it, but it's about to be discovered. And if it does, I don't know why there's so much talk about greenery. Put all the money you have into teleportation, where human beings and solid objects can cross continents without having to pay for an air ticket or without having to own a car. Just think about it. The limitless possibilities, right? No more traffic jams. Oh, wow. Thank you. Imagine that. You just you have a little box in your home, you step into it, you close the door, you press, there's a whole array of places you can go to, and you press, let's suppose, your office, whatever the address is, and you press it, and within about 2 seconds, you're there in your office, the same person. You press another button, London. You're in London, having a great time. Though who wants to go to London in the winter, I don't know, but anyway, that's another story. So what I'm saying is, these are the kind of real progress of man. Like fire was the real progress of man. The wheel too, and the aeroplane. And people say to me, Mr. Padamsee, what are you talking about? This is impossible. Everything is impossible. Everything is impossible, and yet I just take out of my pocket a little piece of impossibility and speak to my wife in Bombay. Right? Impossible. There was a very nice picture shown, I think by you, of the farmer with the hull, the old-fashioned wooden hull, the plow, and his daughter and his wife were pulling the plow, which they did over 1,000 years ago. They're still doing the same thing. What I missed in that picture, and which I've seen with my own eyes, and many of you who've traveled in villages have seen, is this little instrument called the cell phone hanging from a strap on the hull. Right? On the plow. So don't say technology hasn't reached out. This one little instrument is seen in every small town and village in India, and they know the prices. Even though the prices fluctuate during the day, they get SMSs or phone calls to say, this is the real price as of this minute. Yes, technology is changing the world. Yes, we are getting, so this is not impossible. I mean, it's wonderful. I remember many years ago, this is an old story, where the Wright brothers, who were working on the aeroplane, someone said to them, son, if God wanted man to fly, he would have given him wings. So the Wright brothers said, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're giving man wings. And as another great media guru said, the beauty of the aeroplane is that it is really, in simple terms, it is just an extension of the human foot. Instead of taking a yard in your stride, you take 10,000 miles. It's the same thing. Gets you from A to B can be here, gets you from A to B plus 1,000 there. So therefore, teleportation is something I think that everyone should be looking out for, talking about it, and particularly the scientific community. This is something that really will change the entire world. Okay, next slide please. A fatwa against terrorists. In 2008, I got this absolutely ridiculous idea. And I was reading about Salman Rushdie, and then on the same page I saw terrorist strike, somewhere or the other in the world, in London, I think it was London, on a bus and on the underground and so on. And I said, I'm sure in the Quran there must be something against killing innocent people. And so a friend of mine got some Maulanas to come to my house, and I said to them, is it true that the Quran says that you can kill innocent people? And all three of them looked very shocked and said, sir, kya bolte hain? In the Quran, likha hai, if you kill a single innocent person, it's like killing the whole of humanity. So I said, Acha, then why aren't you preaching this? You know what they told me? They said, yes, we are. We are preaching it. I said, where? They said, in the masjid. I said, now we need to take it out of the masjid and see whether we can spread this message across the world. So they said, sir, hum log communications ka expert nahi, aap hai, aap soch le. I said, maine soch liya. And what I suggest is that the Grand Mufti, who's the head of the Deoband Ulum, which just now was again in the news for bad reasons, but at that time there's good reasons. I said, tell him, why doesn't he send out a fatwa against those who kill innocent people? And they muttered among themselves. They went away. 2 months later they came back to me and they said the Grand Mufti has agreed. I said, yes, but what is the occasion? He said, there's going to be a huge meeting in the Ram Leela grounds. The Ram Leela grounds is where Hazare just had his famous meeting. And we're having a meeting there of 500,000 Muslims, believers, and the Grand Mufti is going to read out the fatwa. And I kept my fingers crossed. But on the 30th of May, 2008, at the Ram Leela grounds, he read out the fatwa. Said anyone who kills, any Muslim who kills an innocent person, therefore is breaking the word of the Quran, which means you're no longer a Muslim. So when they talk about Islamic terrorism, I wonder what they're talking about. Because in Islam they're saying, these Maulanas, I don't know anything about it. And therefore, now I say, if the media can take up this idea, and we can speak to the Grand Mufti again, and he can announce it on an all-India, all-world platform, what will it do? All right, number one, the Muslims will feel, yes, we don't believe in killing innocent people. If these people are, they're not Muslims. Okay? The second thing is, support for terrorists will begin to evaporate. I worked with Chandrababu Naidu from 2001 to 2003 as his communications advisor. And I was asked to go and meet the police commissioner because they had a Naxalite problem. As you know, in Andhra it's quite severe. And he said to me, the only reason the Naxalites or any terrorists exist is they have a network of sympathizers, not supporters, sympathizers. So they have safe houses where they can hide. Otherwise, he said there are only 10,000 Naxalites in the whole of Andhra, which has got 80 million people, but yet we can't get them because they have sympathizers. A fatwa like this, all sympathizers would suddenly begin to realize there's no point. These people are not even Islamic. Why the hell should we help them? Every young would-be suicide bomber who thinks, that is the straight way to heaven, would suddenly realize that actually it's against the Quran, therefore it's not the straight way to heaven at all. In fact, it's the straight way to another place. So these are not things that I'm just pushing off. I'm saying it's possible, and the true Muslims do believe that terrorism is a sin. Killing innocent people doesn't solve anything. Let me just give you one example. After that came out, though the press and the media played it down, I don't know why. I don't know. I really sometimes wonder why they played it down. It was an article in the Times of India the following day in Bombay, I know, on page 17 of one-column articles. The Grand Mufti declares a fatwa on terrorism. Should have been a bedline, a banner, headline across the front page. But anyway, maybe that will come, and I'm working at it. Let me tell you one good thing that came out of that. That 9 terrorists who were shot down, one is still, to be executed. The 9 terrorists of the terrorist attack in Bombay were refused permission to be buried on Islamic burial ground. So somehow the message is creeping in. But now with modern means of communication, it would be wonderful if this message could sweep across the world in headlines, not buried in some page somewhere else, because that's what we want. We want people to realize that it's anti-Islamic to kill an innocent person. Okay, next. The super condom. Again, one has been thinking for years, the scourge of AIDS. Every day there's an article somewhere, right? Am I right? On AIDS, and it's killing people, and they can't get a vaccine against it, and they're trying desperately. Information is being spread out. Don't have sex without a condom. Right? So the condom is your only protection against AIDS and also sexually transmitted diseases. So I was thinking about that and saying, but why? If we've got the solution in our hands, why hasn't AIDS stopped in the world? And then I realized that I myself was as guilty as some others of having sex occasionally without a condom. And I said, why do I do that? And all the men in this room know why. It's because sex without a condom is more pleasurable. Let's face it. That is the truth of the matter. It's not like I invented it, it's an actual natural truth. So I said, then in that case, and I was reminded of my daughter, my eldest daughter, who used to hate medicine. Why? When we were young, medicine tasted bitter. Today, my third daughter, she happily glugs down Vidalin, which is a vitamin tonic. And I said, why did she glug it down when my elder daughter used to hate? Then I realized all the Americans had done, and they're very good at this, had made vitamin tonics nice tasting. There was something that appealed to people, and so people desired them. So if you can make the condom desirable to men, they will start putting it on. So I said, why can't we invent a condom which you wear, it gives you a better sensation than sex without a condom? Sounds impossible, no? I mean, ridiculous. What am I saying? It can happen with medicine, it can happen with condoms, it can happen with so many things. Just make it desirable. And I put this question across, I put this idea across to the Prime Minister some time ago, and he said it sounds like a very good idea. He then picked up the phone and spoke to the Department of Biotechnology, who spoke to IIT Bombay, where I'm on the advisory board, and said, work at it. One of the professors there has already invented the, if you like, the pleasurable, it's a kind of a gel, which actually gives you a full-fledged, and you're all adults here, a full-fledged erection. Now we are working on the idea of how to have the inner coating of the condoms that we produce coated with this. And that is a slightly more technical problem. And once that is out, we're going to do trials. And if it succeeds, it means that in the end, sex with a condom, gentlemen, good news coming your way, sex with a condom will be more pleasurable than sex without a condom. It's a little idea. Fire was a little idea. The wheel was a little idea, but see what it's done. It wasn't a big idea like splitting the atom. But if it can save lives that are being lost to AIDS, if it can also accelerate one thing this country needs is, besides food, what does this country need among the 80% that you talked about who are in the small towns and villages? It needs population control. And I worked on many population control task forces. They all failed because they said, vasectomy, as you know, Sanjay Gandhi made that into a dirty word. And condoms, they're not interested. Because they say, every time I say something, why can't you just give it to me? Once I use it, that's enough. And then I should be free. Can't do that. So this also could help in the family planning program in India and in other overpopulated countries like Indonesia. In Africa, in certain states in Africa, certain countries in Africa, the population has been cut by 25% just due to AIDS. Right? Okay. Yes. So what I'm saying is, if this succeeds, we've got a breakthrough there. Okay. Next one. This is my favorite one. I have spoken to a lawyer recently in Bombay, and I said, you know, we are consumers. We people who pay taxes. Like we go into a shop and you buy something, right? Let's suppose you buy, I don't know, a packet of surf, and you take it home, and in the surf there are all kinds of little stones, and you take it back to the shopkeeper and say, kya baat hai? And the shopkeeper will report to Hindustan Lever, and Hindustan Lever, I assure you, because I've worked with them, will send you 2 free packets. Yet, we pay our taxes for what? What do we pay our taxes for? Clean air, right? Good roads, right? And water supply, electricity, etc. And what do we get in return? We are being swindled. So I said, why shouldn't we have a taxpayers union? If every factory can have a union, why don't we have a taxpayers union? So this idea, the taxpayers union, I'm working on it. You'll all hear about it, I hope, in sometime during this year. We've got to get all the things right. I don't want it to be another Lokpal bill, you know, go on forever. So that we can demand our product, we pay for a product, we're paying for the product, but we're not getting satisfactory quality. True or false? So, if all of you are taxpayers in this room, and believe you me, even that 80% down in the villages and small towns are paying the government of India tax when they buy BDs. There's a value added tax. There is excise. This is all invisible taxes that every single Indian among the 1 billion, 1.3 billion Indians that we have now, someone said 1.4. I wouldn't be surprised by the time I finish this talk, it will be 1.5. Still. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all the taxpayers in this country said, okay, you either give us the value for our money or we go on strike. And certainly, income taxpayers could do that very easily. And if the income taxpayers stop, believe you me, in this country will come to a standstill. Does anyone know how many people pay income tax in this country? Anyone? Come on. How many?
I said 1%.
Yeah, it is just below 2%. 1.7%, I think, is the figure. 1.7% of people are the strongest force to demand a good product from the government. We talk about good governance. If you don't know how to govern, get out, is what I say. Get out. Just get out. Not all this, oh, we will do this and we will do that and we'll walk on the streets and we'll demonstrate and all that. We'll stop paying our taxes, and who's going to pay your salary then? Right? So that's what I'm advocating. A taxpayers union. An American friend of mine, a couple of years ago, was in India for about a year or more and traveled all over. He was writing a book. And at the end of his journey, he came and had dinner with me. And I said, Joe, give me a one-line description of India. He said, one line, impossible. I said, but at least an insight of some kind. He said, I'll tell you, Alyque, wherever I travel, I found that the people of India are wonderful. They're hospitable, even if the farmer in the field who's only sharing 2 rotis among 4 of his family. If I come there, he will tear 1 roti in half and give it to me. We all know that. Hospitality, generosity. He said, Akkalman, he already learned the word Akkalman. Said, very intelligent people and so on. He said, my one line would be, the Indian nation is a first world country. The Indian government is a third world government. And that's because I think we've been brought up not to be demanding. We have, really, to ask your father for money to I don't know, education or college. They're always reluctant, and sometimes it's for something that maybe is not so important. We always are walking as if we are beggars, and our bosses, our fathers, our professors in college. Which of you has ever had the nerve to ask a professor in college, excuse me, sir, put your hand down, Padamsee? No, sir, I won't. I want to know, if you said that India is a democracy, can you tell us in what way? But we don't. We never ask those questions in class, neither in school nor in college. Not in college even, and certainly never at our workplace. I mean, go to the boss and say, I think the bathrooms in our office are terrible. Yeah, you'll find a demotion letter on your desk, or worse than that, a bye-bye letter. So we are not used to demanding our rights, and it's time the younger generation, what I'm calling Youngistan, now began to exert those rights. India is a country which is taking its place in the world, on the world stage, in real terms, economy, but unfortunately in progress on the social front, no, we are not. But I'm sure young India will be able to bring us forward. And I'd like to end on a humorous note, but it's not very humorous. I said, I've been married 3 times. And it's wonderful. Believe you me, I would do it 3 times again. There's no question about it. But unfortunately with marriage, people living under the same roof, sharing the same facilities, including particularly the bathroom. So if anyone wants their marriage to last, I suggest you build a 2nd bathroom. Women do not like to use the same bathroom as men. That is it. That's a full stop there. Am I right? There you are. Right? Absolutely. So, but what this is, the simple idea, just as you get a driving license which lasts 5 years, unless you renew it, why not abolish this old idea of marriage? I mean, when gay marriage is coming in, women's rights came in, child labor laws have come in. Society is changing, but in the one area which, let's say 70 or 80% of the world, marriage, going to marry, there have been no changes. Yes, you can get a divorce, but the divorce is always messy, and always there's wrangling, and there's emotional upset, and the children are upset, and so on. So my idea, I don't know how I'll implement it, let's see. Someone else might implement it. A 5-year marriage license with a prenuptial agreement. Prenup was invented in America, which is you sign a document saying, if we get divorced, you will get so much of the property, I will have visiting rights as the husband to the children, you can keep the children, etc., etc. Now what this will do, it will probably save marriages. Now that's absurd. I'm full of absurdities today. It will save marriages because at no time in your marriage, and in all my 3 marriages, did I sit down and assess whether I was a good husband, or did my wife sit down and whether she was a good wife. In the 4th year of the marriage license, which is going to expire next year, 5th year, you suddenly say, hey, I don't really want to lose my wife. She is a wonderful person, okay, but I really we haven't been to a movie in about 2 years together. We haven't been on a holiday because I've been so busy. I very rarely take care of the children. She does all that. You begin to reassess, and the wife says, I used to cook for them and now I don't. I'm too busy, too busy, too busy, too busy. So it makes you reassess your marriage. Because one of the most wonders of the world, again I point to America, though I can point to all European countries too, is a wonderful marriage vow. Now you will be man and wife till death do us part. And that idea that it will go on forever regardless of what you do. You might treat your wife badly, but it's still death to us part. She might treat you badly, death to us part. And that kind of taking for granted is what ruins one of the finest institutions of relationship in the world, which is marriage. I'm a great proponent of that. Doesn't mean I'm going to get out of fourth time. No. Three is enough. And it would avoid this acrimonious thing when you go into a divorce court. My God, suddenly two people who've been sharing their life, their bed, their children, suddenly become tigers, Oh, I must have the car. No, you won't have the car. And wrangling, and then over the children, and the whole thing becomes what used to be a wonderful relationship, suddenly comes down to a bare knuckles fight. And it avoids that acrimonious divorce thing because it's all decided in advance. And let me tell you, for any of you who are contemplating a divorce, if you're in California, as you know, whatever you have, am I right? 50-50. Regardless. Yes, community property. And that's going all over America. It avoids that and it becomes very costly. The divorce lawyers in Bombay, at least, I can tell you, charge astronomical sums just to work out all that, And at that point, you have no option because nobody in your family is talking to anyone in her family. So you have to get a lawyer. But anyway, 5-year marriage license is, I feel, round the corner. If it doesn't come in India first, I'll be sad, but it will come somewhere in the world. And I think it will probably be in Sweden, who on these sort of matters are very much in advance of everyone else in the world. Okay? So I say to you, ideation, that single word, ideation, has been the thing that has taken man forward, progress. So there's no standing still. And I say to you, if you ideate, you become an ideator, and I'll give you a very simple exercise to do every morning. And it requires no energy of body, like touching your toes or jogging or whatever, nothing. Before you put on your slippers in the morning, and I've tried this in several workshops, before you put on your slippers in the morning, once you put on your chappals, the day starts. You rush to the bathroom, brush your teeth, oh my God, look at your watch, have a shower, quickly gobble down your breakfast, run down, get some kind of transport, or at least you got a car, jump in the car, rush to the office the whole day. You really don't get blank time. When your brain is not buzzing with activities, what to do. So, just before you put on your slippers, don't let the day start. Let the day go into freeze frame. Before you put on your chappals, think, what can I do today in a different way or that I've never done before? For instance, in Bombay we have the Rajabai clock tower, a wonderful piece of architecture, and I've always wanted to climb to the top and see Bombay from the top. I've never done it. So maybe today is the day I should do it. Or maybe you say, hey, what happens if I put my right foot into my left chappal, and my left foot into my right chappal? And one of my workshop people did that. And I said, so? He said, sir, my chappals used to be loose, now they're tight. And another guy was running an office, this is true, from this exercise. He said, by the second week, my brain began to think creatively. I thought of new things, new ways of doing things. And then I realized that people in my office were coming late every day. My office starts at 9:30, they'd come at 9:35, 9:45, 9:50, 10 o'clock some of them. And I keep on saying, please, the office time is 9:30. So one day he thought of this idea before he put on his chappals. He went to the office and said, we're changing the office timing. From tomorrow we're starting at 8:30 in the morning, not 9:30. Oh God, horrible, no sir, please don't. He said, try it for a month. So they all tried it for a month. Then he said, okay, we're going back to the old timing of 9:30. Everyone said, no. He said, why? Miss D'Souza, why are you saying that? She said, sir, you have no idea. The queues for the bus to come to the office, when I leave my house at 9 o'clock to get here by 9:30 are so terrible, I never get here by 9:30. Okay? Another one said, I ride a two-wheeler, and at 9 o'clock, the streets of Hyderabad are clogged with two-wheelers and cars and buses and trucks. And I always come out sneezing, coughing. It takes me 10 minutes to wash my face, clear my throat and all that. Each one had a good reason why we should stick to the new timing. But they were all against it in the beginning. So what I'm saying is creativity, and that's the subject I really deal in, is thinking of the little things that could change your life, and then suddenly you'll find a big thing. And he says attendance at his office now, from being something like punctuality or something like only 50%, is now about 80%. Just by that one little idea, you just change the office timing. So what I'm saying to all of you, because you are all thinking human beings, ideation is one of the greatest joys you can ever have. And when you discover something new, or a new way of doing something that you've been doing for years, it's wonderful. Someone told me, sir, that is very good. You said, when you were talking, you said, you put on your chappal, you rush into the bathroom, you brush your teeth. I thought, brush my teeth. Why am I brushing my teeth like this, horizontally? When my teeth are vertical. That's true. Our teeth are vertical. Or why do we brush them horizontally? So he started brushing them vertically, and he said it was very good. His teeth were much cleaner because the food particles lodged between the two teeth, not on the teeth. Things like that. So all I want to say is to end off, just to tell you that discover something new every day, and that will enrich your life and give you more pleasure and joy than you've ever known. Thank you.